Yo, welcome back to the Audio Theory Podcast. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button as well as the subscribe button. What's good, Danny? How have you been?
I've been good, dude. I've been very good. Had a very eventful weekend down here in Florida. Bro, it was one of those where I feel like everyone can relate that you have plans to do nothing and then you end up doing stuff. And like everything you did was great. Like I had great times, friends visiting, family visiting. But then at the end of it, I'm like, wow, this weekend, I just never slept, bro. Like I never slept. I never was in my house, just peaceful. I was like,
Yeah.
fuck. But it was all good stuff, bro. So again, you have to be grateful for good times with good people and good memories. But
Nice.
yeah, dude, like I had to, no bullshit, I had to take like a 3-hour power nap before this pod because I was like, bro, there's no way I'm having any energy for this shit if I don't take a fucking nap.
I can sense slight grogginess in your voice, but
Yeah,
hopefully the nap was fire.
Yeah, the nap was fire. The nap was fire. How about you though, man? How was your weekend?
It was good. So Friday night I hung out with some friends, which doesn't happen quite that often out here because I only have like a select amount of people I actually know. But it was dope. We went to a bar in Chinatown, which it's kind of strange. For some reason in San Francisco, Chinatown has like some poppin' bars.
That's not geared to like that demographic, like people from all over the city go.
Yep.
Nice.
That one in particular, for whatever reason, skews older. And when I say older, I'm talking like 50 plus.
Okay.
But it was dope because we bought a bottle like at a table. You know, it's like $120 between like 6 people.
Oh wow,
which is unheard of if you're buying bottle service,
especially in the demographic that like in San Francisco. Like, where is that happening, bro?
Yeah. So we were there, and then we transitioned to like this new nightclub, also random because it's like a block from where I work in the financial district. I don't know how these bar owners and club owners made these decisions, but at least I had a good time. So that was nice. But
and it was busy.
I don't know if it was busy. But I don't know if you heard the news. Like in California, there's basically like a snowstorm taking place pretty much in every city. I think the Hollywood sign had snow on it at some point.
Oh wow.
Maybe even right now. So yeah, this weekend it was kind of rainy and gloomy. As you can see now it's sunny all of a sudden, but earlier today it was gloomy as hell. So that's the only downside to the weather. It's been super unpredictable and freezing.
Got you. Yeah, question for you, because to your point that you said you don't go out as much, or you don't really link up with a lot of friends in the Bay, right? So I don't have a similar issue, but I have and I'll get to my point in a second. It's like I have that issue too, because a lot of the things I do on a weekly basis, like I try to like really enjoy home a lot. And then Gina, like me and my fiance will do like date night. We'll go for a dinner. We'll go to a bar, go to the movies like you guys do a lot, right? We just went to the movies on Sunday. But do you feel like, bro, when you, and we're not divulging any details. I'm just talking about the feeling you get. Do you feel at times when you go out, because it's so rare, that you go extra hard than you would normally think? And then my overall point is like, bro, like for example, like I met my boy Pablo for brunch. I met him at 12:45. It was meant to be a chill day. I didn't get home till 8:00. And I'm just like, bro, how the fuck did this happen, bro? Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just feels like I'm out and like my subconscious is like, you're free. Go do it. I'm like, bro, why? It's not that serious. But I think when there's like such a massive gap in between the hangouts, it just feels like we kind of like let a little bit loose than we should.
Oh yeah. It's crazy that you brought it up, because that's one of the aspects of the story I didn't mention, but I didn't go to sleep till 5 a.m. Saturday morning, which is something I normally don't do. Like,
right.
And I think it was the fact that prior to that, I probably hadn't gone out. I don't even remember the last time.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Yeah. Like, yo, that's the crazy thing. I think as like older men, like older, right? Like as young 30-year-olds, it's just like, you're more conscious of the way you move. So you're like, all right, bro, it's cool, man. I'll see them eventually. I'll see you at the gym. Keep it moving. I already talk to my boy Danny once a week on Face. Like, you know, like my friends are part of my life daily. So like, I don't need to see them out. But then when you see your boys out, it's like a different energy. and you're just like, ah! Like, bro.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. That's exactly how it played out. And I know I'm gonna kick it with them again, but I'm like,
when?
How much? Yeah, when?
Yeah.
Like a month from now, 2
correct.
months.
Dude,
And
correct.
I
Dude,
just
I'm
have to
telling
go
you,
hard.
you have to go hard. But the funny thing is, like, what's funny is that I think you could agree too, like, the intention is never to go hard.
No.
Like, I'm always like, yeah, I'm gonna go meet them for drinks, and when I get home, I get home. Like, I'm not on a curfew, but like, yeah, like I'll be home by like a decent hour. Like, bro,
Yeah.
I'm never thinking this is gonna be a 10-hour hangout session, bro. Like,
Right. And it just so happened one of the guys had his friends visiting from Jersey. So they were obviously in a similar mindset of, hey, we're on vacation. Like, we're not just going to sit at home and eat pizza. Like, we need to go check out this club and that bar and whatever. So
we got to see everything. Well, what does the city have to offer us, bro? Yeah. No, it's just funny because I've been feeling that more, bro. And I felt it twice this past weekend. I'm like, bro, why am I out still? You know what I mean? Like, why am I still outside? Like, I have a family, I have a home, like, I have cats, bro. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Oh, man. That's funny, dude. That's funny. But I'm glad you're safe. And yeah, man, let's get into it. Episode 133. Go peep out. Episode 132 just dropped today. Today being February 27th. Dude, March in 2 days, bro. That's crazy. That's the craziest part of the first 10 minutes of this podcast is that it's already fucking March, bro. Wow. All right, bro. I want to go into this first before we get into some other things that people may assume. Don Toliver, bro. One of your favorite artists, an artist I think we've supported on the pod for a while, dropped his album over on Friday called, what was it? Lovesick.
Yep.
16 tracks, almost an hour worth of content. Your thoughts on the overall body of work?
I'd say my initial thoughts, I definitely prefer this one over Life of a Don, his previous album.
Which was like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I want to say. Okay. 2021. So yeah, a couple of years ago. Yeah, overall, I think the beat selection and features just did something differently for me this time around, as well as the production. Well, I guess I already said that, the beat selection. Mm-hmm. I think I have to sit on it longer to know like whether or not it's going to be one of those classic replays where I'm constantly going through it, because I'm always biased initially if one, I like the artist and I haven't heard from him in a while, and then two, if we just generally haven't been getting much new music. So like if something's even slightly above average,
classic.
I'm amping it up. Yeah, like classic right away. There were a few like skips here and there for me, but the ones that I sent you, I think at this point in time, I still really, really enjoy. And he's one of those artists for me, at least, that's even the skips, if you will, still are pleasant to listen to and still create a vibe. Worst case scenario, background music. But still looking for that one project that's like definitively just classic Don Toliver that like nobody can stop talking about for several months.
Dude, like agreeing so hard right now on like those points, right? Because I was very excited about the album. I don't know why. Maybe it's because like we've been saying for the past couple of weeks, we really haven't gotten much besides like Yachty. So we've been diving into old catalog, which is something we said we we're going to do anyway this year. But I was excited for it. But like, as I'm like cruising to it on Friday, I'm like, man, what's the mood for this right now? Like, I don't want to blare it like it's the middle of a fucking day on a Friday in my car, because I'm like, I feel like I'm not ready for that. At the gym, I'm like, it's not really workout music. And then by Sunday, I was like, oh, like, dude, to your point, like, this is like vibey music. Like, it really is like background music. But I really hope that listeners or the viewers don't take that like in a disrespectful shot. Like, it's excellent background music, bro. Like, like I'm very much like bobbing my head and like closing my eyes at moments and like smoking with the like. I'm like, yo, this is like, I'm in a very good mood right now. I actually felt like the album didn't have that many, if any, skips. Like, I felt like I feel like he was trying to give you like an overall, like, it felt like a more cohesive playlist. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I promise you song 1 goes with song 2 sonically. Like, maybe now lyrically they may be saying completely different shit, but as far as like sonically, like it all sounds like it's in the correct order. So I really enjoy that aspect of it, and like a lot. I have a couple of songs, but I really, really enjoy that were standouts to me. But I think this kind of goes back to a point we've made like maybe 3 times on this podcast. Like, is this still the Don Toliver that we were expecting? Right? Because I think he came with such, like, you just alluded to that like a second ago, like with such an impact when we heard Astroworld that we're like, oh, bro, if we get an album of that, like, bro, this guy's going to be the biggest artist in the world. Yeah. And this just feels like, again, I truly enjoyed it. I was sending you a couple songs. I told my boys to peep it, like, for the vibe. But, like, I don't think this is going to be, like, some impactful project that he puts on his Mount Rushmores of projects that he's like, yeah, I'm super proud of that. You know, like, which is weird, though, because, again, I still think it's very good. But this is, like, the whole, like, fame conversation we were having last week. We're like, damn, because he was so famous so early, did that kind of skew our fucking expectations of him? Yeah.
And sorry, let me rephrase. Now that I think about it, I think skips probably wasn't the best word. I think for me, when I have a replay, which I guess would be the complete opposite of a skip, generally I select songs for my general playlist, and those are songs that can like kind of fit every mood. Like the Bieber Future one, I guess could be like kind of considered a banger, but also a vibe, but also for the car and this and that. So usually if I think all the songs of the album were good, but there was only a handful for me where I was like,
this has to be on my everyday rotation kind of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think in terms of him and this album, or even his previous albums, not necessarily having the same impact as like an Astroworld, I think there's just maybe there's no like real moment to latch onto within these albums. Like with Sicko Mode, like obviously that song just comes to mind as far as a moment that really catapulted Travis to a different level, even if Drake was, you know, a huge part of that.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas with Don Toliver, he's kind of always cruising like at that like star level, but not at the superstar level. Like he has a kind of a core fan base that parallels Travis, but it's kind of, you know, just chilling there. And it's not even necessarily a bad thing. Like he's clearly doing well. But I think he'll need something in order to elevate to that next tier.
Yeah, no, that's a great. And dude, I'm trying to think right now, what was his song? Because I know it was a banger, but what was his song on Astroworld that we fell in love with?
On Astroworld, Can't Say.
Yeah. Okay. Because like sometimes I'm starting to think like we're like, why are we expecting something else? Well, now we've gotten 2 full albums from him, right? Or is it 3?
At this point, 3. I believe Heaven and Hell was his debut.
Okay, so we got 3 full albums from him, and it's this pocket. So I feel like at some point we, the listener, have to stop expecting him to come out with like what we think he is, right? Because I'm guilty of that, right? Like on this album, you use the phrase banger, but dude, like I love the Future and Bieber song, but even that again stays in the same pocket of what this entire album kind of sonically is, as opposed to this one like, yo, I can see him performing this, losing his mind, yelling on a stage, and it's like, no, bro, like this is like lounge music, like elite lounge music, but like, you know, like, hey, turn it down a little bit, like so I can still have my conversation, kind of a thing. So yeah, I think maybe it's on us, bro. Like maybe it's on us to stop thinking that he's this like upcoming headliner, right? And that's okay, bro. Like, yo, I feel like he is these, because I've never listened to a Don Toliver song, and this is also a massive compliment. And it's been like, this is really bad music, bro. Like what the fuck would you think?
Yeah,
like, bro,
never.
If anything, I feel like each of these projects have gotten better, right? So like, that's like all we ask for, right? Is improvement. Is like, if this is your sound, figure out a way to keep mastering that it gets better. But yeah, I think we're fucking up and assuming that because the heights of it was so like high early on, that he has, and it's like, bro, I don't think that's ever who he wants to be.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I don't think he necessarily, I think for me at least, a lot of times I do this with rappers, but I think like traditional rappers have a different trajectory where they're trying to go. Like they're trying to be that guy and tell their story and make it to the top and everything. Whereas it seems like Don Toliver just wants to make really good music that he's good at making.
Yeah.
And just getting better, but not necessarily trying to have that single that makes it on TikTok or whatever the case is.
Correct. Hey, he's not like, yeah, that's a great point, man. Cause I feel like we grew up in the era where like everyone was not beefing, but like was competition to each other, right? Like Jay-Z, DMX, like Tupac, like someone had to be the head guy. And he's like, nah, bro, like why? Like I can just make music and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think, that's the tricky thing with art. We all, I mean, it's human. We all put our own bias and expectations on everybody. And then sometimes it makes it harder for you to step back and just like appreciate it, that it's there and exists. And if you don't like certain things, cool. But there's obviously going to be some things that you do like and just appreciate those things. Yeah.
And it's so subjective. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. But I did want to get your take on, because again, it was one of your things that you did not want to see any longer in 2023. When you heard "For Me" with his girl Kylie, and it was literally the exact beat from Beanie Man's song from whenever ago. Like, what were your thoughts when you heard that? Because I was like, oh, Blair's gonna love this one.
Honestly, I ended up liking that one because I know at least I don't think he's of Jamaican heritage, but for some reason his voice always kind of sounded like someone who
some kind of dance hallish.
Yeah, some Caribbean style. So for that particular single, I was fine with. And I also don't think it's a played out beat. Like I think a lot of the other samples I hear, I'm like, I've heard this sample like 1,000 times, or the song itself was played so many times. Like I do not need a remake. Like the Saweetie Blow the Whistle, I probably heard Blow the Whistle by
we just had the Drake version that was a banger, bro. We don't need the third version of this song.
Right. And the two songs, the Too Short and the Drake one, we've heard on the radio so many times. So by the time the third one sample remake or whatever comes around, it's my ears are bleeding. So as long as the sample is, and I think most people our age are probably familiar with it, but the people that are like 22 probably have never heard
which is how old? I feel like he's in that 22, 26 range, right? He can't be much older than that.
Yeah, I think he's mid 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I kind of gave him a pass on that one. And I don't think he was trying to capitalize on it and make it some like TikTok-y moment, which is what I feel like a lot of the other songs are trying to do.
Yeah. No, I feel that. And again, for people our age, it's very nostalgic because I feel like it was a time like that's like a summer song, but like I go back to me being 11 or 12, like you're like properly listening to music for the first time because you want to. You know what I mean? Like I remember like I had like, so in New York, there's like a popular, there is a popular radio station, 97. And like people like, and they would like bootleg and sell like Hot 97 like mixtapes. So like, that's like the time when I would go buy a mixtape and like, oh, what's the hot new song right now? And that Beanie Man song was like it at one point. So it was very nostalgic for me, but I was like, oh, this is still like the same fucking beat. Like there's not even like, you're not trying to change this up a little bit, but again, but I agree with you. There was always a dance hall element a little bit to there is to Don Toliver that I think would always make sense.
For sure.
Yeah, but go peep it. I'm sure we'll have a couple of the songs on the playlist, but Lovesick hopefully does good numbers. Again, great artist that we support. And I guess we just need to be able to be more content with the art he's giving us. All right, so I kind of wanted to get into this because I don't know if we're going to get backlash for Beyonce slander, but it kind of goes with the topic of last week of Adidas, again, they were expected to lose like almost $1 billion from not being able to push Yeezy products. It's reported recently that Beyonce's line with Adidas called Ivy Park, I believe, is on pace to lose $200 million in 2023. And I was thinking that this is more like a bigger conversation of like, is the overall public, not the beehives, right? That's what I think the beehives are called.
Yeah, beehive.
But is the overall public just ready to move on from Beyonce? And I only say this because I don't really think like people are drawn to her name the way we were 6 years ago. You know what I mean? When she dropped Lemonade, I know when she jumped on the Savage remix with Megan like 3 years ago, that was a great moment in hip hop overall. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if you look at certain things over the last years, like it's like, yeah, like we get it. You're the biggest thing to ever happen to pop music for a female artist. But it's almost like, again, maybe that's us as a consumer fucking up again. It's like, well, we're okay, we're good. Like, who's next? Kind of a thing. Because and I always say that because like, bro, like her last album, bro, did nothing. I know it had a couple great TikTok moments, but did nothing. Even the joint album with Jay-Z, The Carters, dropped, did nothing. You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering if because she still looks so young, looks amazing, has the extensive catalog, that we assume we're going to keep getting that every time, and then we're disappointed. But it just feels like, and again, Adidas is only signing Beyonce. They think they're going to profit, billions off her or whatever. And the fact that now she's not even able to push like merch is like, damn, like, are we just kind of like just off it? So like your thoughts on the overall brand status of Beyonce in 2023? Yeah.
So for this discussion, I definitely wanted to put on my marketer hat.
Okay.
And did some background research on it, mostly because I wasn't even aware of Ivy Park. And I know I'm not her target demographic, but to me, I'm like, okay, maybe it's the marketing that's poor, because I'm still within like the hip hop space as far as what I consume. So I'm like, I should have heard about this somewhere. Coincidentally, my wife owns a pair of shoes, which I thought were dope, and I didn't even know they were Ivy Park.
Oh, that's just funny.
Yeah. But from what I gathered and what I assumed was that there was a mismatch in the marketing somehow, which is crazy to think, because I think most people assume if you have a household brand name like Beyonce or whoever, you just tell people to buy something and done. Like you don't have to do anything. But it sounds like I believe her target demographic is women ages 30 to 40s to 30s and 50s at this point. Or sorry, 30s and 40s.
So essentially the women who grew up on her music, who are now a little bit older, that can actually purchase shit themselves.
Right. And I think that crowd tends to gravitate towards, women empowerment and things of that nature that she speaks to in relationships. I don't think the younger demographic is quite there as far as what they consume, but it sounds like the clothing in general is kind of overpriced. Not as casual as people would hope, like cropped hoodies and things like that. And someone at the age of 40 probably isn't going to want to rock that or spend $200 on that if they're going to go to the gym once in a blue moon. And then on top of that, Beyonce's not really like a fashion icon like a Kanye. Like with Kanye's clothing, I feel like people, when they put on a pair of Yeezys or whatever, they feel like they are resembling Kanye in a way where
like this is a fashion forward idea from,
right,
I guess your original point, like this is a Kanye idea, not a piece of material that has Beyonce's name on it, kind of thing.
And Kanye rocks his stuff like everywhere he goes too. So it doesn't feel like you're being duped into just putting money into the celebrities' pockets and they're not even like championing their own stuff. Whereas Beyonce is kind of just creating it, or having her team create it, I should say, I think, and having people go out and purchase it. And a lot of people are like, yo, I just want the originals Adidas with your name on it or something. I don't need this fancy $500 cropped hoodie to rock at the gym once in a blue moon. And I think from that standpoint, also the products I heard aren't that comfortable in general. So with all that combined, if you're not marketing it properly and you're not a fashion icon yourself, or like making a connection on why your athleisure should be better than the next person's, I think even her diehard fans are like, yo, I'm not going to rock this. Like this isn't what I go to you for. And if you are going to sell merch, make it accessible for your fans and something that someone of my age or whatever can rock on an everyday basis. So I think that's the biggest thing. And thinking of all this too, I think we have to give like Kim K credit, because she has brands that are doing so well, and she found a gap in the market with Skims, I think it's called.
That's like $1 billion company.
Right. And a lot of people would assume, oh, she's only successful because of Ray J or whatever. But clearly, like marketing your product and having a good product is necessary to be successful. And I think this is a clear prime example of that.
Skims.
Yeah, Skims. And just the fact that your brand name and celebrity power is important, but it just gets you through the door and gets you the funding.
Yeah. That's a good pin. So that's a good point, Charles. So that's more like, so back to the Skims, like I'm assuming women believe that Kim either had a say in it or is actually rocking that herself, as opposed to, let me just put my name on it and it's going to sell like, $1 billion.
And even if they aren't believing that, I think the price point and just it being useful and accessible makes people say, okay, like even if she's not rocking it, she's making it for people like me and making it easy for me to acquire. Whereas Beyonce's, from the outside looking in, it's just like, here's some super high-end stuff with my name on it that you probably don't need. And then a lot of the fans are like, yo, like, you don't even rock this. Why am I going to get it? And it's like 10 times more expensive than the
average, like Lululemon or whatever, like some Fabletics kind of thing. Okay, cool. So you're thinking like, and I agree with, so it's more like a mixed marketing step as opposed to the average Beyonce consumer just being ready to move on. It's like, we still love you, but we just don't need you to make sure our attire to go to LA Fitness is on point.
Right. Or that, and I think it probably is something the Gen Z audience would prefer, but the Gen Z audience isn't her core fan base, and therefore it's just not even selling.
Got it. Yeah, dude. Those are all fucking super great marketing points, bro. Yeah. But the funny thing is like I think it's probably a misstep from both sides, right? Like Beyonce just assumes, because I think on the outside you just assume, oh, it's Beyonce, household name for going on damn near 25 fucking 30 years, right? And then you have Adidas, second biggest sporting thing in the world. Like, how can this not work? And it's like, bro, like you still have to like know your audience. Like you can't just assume that everyone's idiots, especially like I think in modern day, there's so many other options, bro. Like there are a million other fucking options. If I'm a female and like, to your point, I want like some fire leggings. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to go to Beyonce for leggings, bro. There's like 30, 40, 50 other options.
Yeah. And at least for Yeezys, I mean, the stuff is recognizable, and you see people on a podcast or whatever rocking that, and you're like, oh, like I know who created that, where it's from. People kind of celebrate the look and sometimes even make fun of it, but it kind of all works organically in Kanye's or Ye's favor. Whereas Beyonce's, like, I had no idea what Ivy Park looks like. It seems like her fans are confused on who it's for. So that just shows me they, for some reason, didn't do enough research ahead of time to be like, do my core fans even want this to begin with?
Yeah, these are all facts on audio theory being pitched, dude. I love it, dude. This could be your TED talk on missteps.
Hey, that's Beyonce.
Missteps in the marketplace. Nice. Yeah. Again, we'll again, because you think of Beyonce, I never think of sportswear, right? I think of like an icon, a diva, who's been around forever. So yeah, man, it's probably definitely more that than her core fan base losing excitement for her. But let us know what you think in the comment section. We'll love to see if you think we're being accurate or just hating. Next thing that I want to talk about, if you had a chance to peep it, I think over the weekend, Drake linked up with Yachty on Future Mood, episode 1, where Yachty and Drake were talking about everything under the sun, literally under the sun. They were on a beach. And like the essence of it was, like, hey, we have until the sunset is completely done, and then we're going to stop recording. So it was like a 40-minute conversation. That was pretty cool. Just the real basis of the actual episode was for them to promote their own sunglass wear that they're dropping called Future Mood, which is the overall gist of it. But it was really about a few questions that Yachty had for Drake. So one thing that I wanted to bring up before we go into some of Drake's answers is that I didn't realize that Yachty is 25 years old. Did you realize he was that young?
I would have assumed so if you were to ask me.
So 25, I guess his look looks that age, right? So that it's obvious. But then I start thinking about how long he's been around.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, bro, what? And then now I start looking like wild at Joe Budden again, because I'm like, bro, were you really just yelling at a 20-year-old like he owes anything to anyone when he doesn't know shit about himself? Like that, in that moment, I'm just like, yo, Joe is crazy for that, bro, because that was a child he was just yelling at. It wasn't some like grown man.
Yeah, true. But I mean, then again, like, I don't know, some of these young kids are super hard-headed and stubborn and don't want to take advice from anybody. So I think he was taking his frustration from the other like younger rappers who are more vocal and pop off at the mouth, and then he just redirected all that anger to Yachty for no reason.
Yeah. But yeah, for some reason I felt like Yachty was 25 at that moment, and that moment was 4 or 5 years ago. So I was like, oh wow, like you yelling at a fucking 20-year-old, like crazy dog. Like
no, time freezes for me when I think about these rappers. I'm like, they're 25 for 10 years. Yeah, all day. So yeah, it was a cool back and forth, but he brought up his age, and I was like, holy shit, this guy is fucking young. Which is also cool, like, you know, him and Drake being cool, there's like a 10-year gap. But one thing that did come up was that Drake is, I think, trying to figure out different exit strategies. And I thought that could be a fun conversation to kind of end the pod on, where, I don't know, we got into the assumption, because that's just what he was doing. We're getting a new Drake album every 2 years, right? There's a buildup. Whenever it drops, he's the, you know, it's going to prove that he's the number one guy. And it feels like either that weight has been a lot for him, or maybe he's like, bro, I'm 36. I got a kid. I'm on top of the world. I just want to fall back. Because he was saying like, hey, I'm not going anywhere, but I would much rather be the guy who just drops songs here and there, do shows here and there, and just see what the next generation is going to do. So your thoughts on that version of Drake moving forward? I think it makes sense, and I think it's inevitable. I mean, as history has shown us, you can't be on top all the time at any given moment. I think best case scenario, Drake will be like a Jay-Z. He'll be that, you know, that holy grail of a verse that only a select few people get and people celebrate, and then he'll disappear into the shadows again for a couple years and just be a boss and do whatever he wants. And I think it makes sense. Yeah, like at a certain point, I imagine you get exhausted and tired. I can only imagine what toll all that touring and recording in the studio can do. He has a kid now. I'm sure that plays a huge role in it. I feel like he honestly probably gets more enjoyment hanging out with his kid than being in the studio bragging about whatever it is. So I feel like all that combined, he's just like, I don't need to try anymore. I am that guy. Personally, I feel like he's peaked in the sense of, I don't know if he can really get that much bigger. Like everyone knows him. Everyone loves him. He's had so many hits and Grammys. Like, unless he can like fucking start talking to aliens or some shit, I don't know how else he can like earn the respect of the people. It just makes sense to me that he would take a break.
Or start like just fading away, like just,
fading away. Yeah.
And it's funny, to your point, like you were saying a second ago, like sometimes we lose time with rappers, right? Like they're always 27 or 30 to us. But sometimes we also have very like recency bias, where we forget that like go back 20 years, like, dude, no one rapper was on top forever, right? At some point, the next guy came along and we just forget about that, especially with him, because it feels like since the social media age came along, bro, there's been no other rapper, bro. Like, as far as like the guy, right? Because I feel like when Wayne was peaking, that was like the beginning of IG, but not like the full launch. But since like IG has been the thing, you know, like it's been Drake, bro. Like it's been the clear thing. So I think we forget about like, dude, that's probably not going to last forever because it didn't last for the other 4 guys before Drake. But what's confusing for me when I hear him say that is that we also only know Drake for music, right? With the Jays, you know, and the Nas's or whoever, we also see them visibly doing other things, right? I'm sure Drake is doing a bunch of different things in the background, but we don't see him do it. So that's as a fan, I'd be like, bro, like, but what else are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Because all I see you do is put out music, right? You're signing these massive record label deals, and that's based off you constantly pumping out music. Whereas like when Jay-Z started fading away, I'm like, yeah, dude, because he's always been like a CEO and like making business moves and Rockaware and Rockefeller Records and all these other things. So it's just like, it's going to be interesting to adjust for a lot of people. Cause like, I feel like with Drake, unlike the other guys, we only saw him as the music guy, right? Whereas with Diddy, we're like, dude, I don't even know what the fuck Diddy does, but you know, he can do everything and it's cool. Yeah. We didn't see him as just a guy like making beats for artists and stuff.
So do you think, with that being said, it'll be hard for people to determine why he would want to take a step back? Like, he doesn't have much going else on for us to be like, okay, I get it. Like, he's running this brand and that brand and that brand.
Yeah, so I think I think it's going to be harder for people to not be harder on the end of his legacy. Like, whereas with Jay, and it was like, they're still the man, and they just went to do other things and they'll bless us with a verse. Whereas with him, again, I think it may come a time where they're like, he fell off. And I don't want a Drake verse anymore because he can't be that. He's just not that guy anymore. Yeah. It's like, and again, that's not going to be the case, but I can see how people start like viewing it that way because like, bro, what else are you fucking doing? Like, you're just rapping.
That is an interesting take, especially with CLB being so recent and that getting so much flack. And like Rihanna, for instance, we've seen like, obviously, what is it? Fenty?
Savage Fenty,
yeah. Savage Fenty is killing it, and she hasn't given us music in forever, but people are like, oh, she's a billionaire doing this, that's why. Whereas if Drake launches his future mood brand or whatever the case is, and that doesn't work well, we've all seen, I think Virginia Black hasn't done too well. Is that the name of his whiskey brand?
Yeah, and I feel like all of his brands, bro, and again, it's because I think the interpretation of us as his fans, right? We like, he almost convinces us that they don't have to do well. You know what I mean? It's like, this is like a cool thing, bro. Like, if you don't buy it, it's because you don't get it. That's like, all right. You know what I mean? Like, okay. Yeah. Because I'm like, true. Bro, like, you're the man, right? Like, who cares? Like, you just happen to have a whiskey label. You happen to have a clothing brand, but you have glasses. I've never bought one OVO thing in my entire fucking life. I've never bought anything Drake related besides the music. So that's the only thing and I feel like a lot of fans, because dude, like, if we did a market research on all his shit, I can't envision any of that stuff is selling very well. Yeah.
But I think he'll get away with it too, because he's not pushing it as hard as some other people might be. He might slip it in a song or do a skit here and there, but he's not like 50 Cent where he's hashtagging it and every post. Yeah, like literally that's all 50 Cent does is hashtag his brands, which may be working amazing for him. But it'll be interesting to see. And unfortunately, that's how people are going to interpret it, is him falling off and not doing as well as he used to. And he's really afraid to say that, but who knows?
Who knows? But again, dude, I think we're still going to get at least, I'll put it out now, I think we'll get at least one more album from him that we consider like a Drake classic. But It is going to be interesting, bro. Because again, like, dude, Father Time is, undefeated. At some point, he's not going to be the guy anymore. And we're going to be like, oh, wow, that happened. It finally happened. It took 15, 20 years, but it finally fucking happened.
Yeah. The only concerning thing is, and I know we've talked about it before, is who's going to replace him or any of these guys, because, we have the ASAP Rockies and stuff, but even they've kind of taken a step back. And I don't see anyone coming remotely close to like the reign that Wayne or Drake or J. Cole or any of these guys had. No,
dude, you're right, man. I'm telling you, the artist that's gonna do it hasn't dropped his first single yet. That's gone like viral.
Do you think the streaming era is responsible for that?
No, because I feel like artists like Drake and Bad Bunny are showing you that if you are that talented, you are gonna put up stupid fucking numbers. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I just think there's just a talent gap right now. And dude, to your point, a little while ago, is that remember back in the day, like I was saying, that all these artists were gearing to be the number one guy, right? Like if Jay dropped, then DMX came out with a haymaker, and like it was like they weren't beefing, but it was like, yo, who's the real head honcho in rap? Dude, the reason why I think now all our takes in hindsight sucked about the ASAP Rockies and Travis Scott about who's going to be the next guy is that all they know since they've come out is how to, best case scenario, you're going to be number 2. And I feel at some point, like that loser meant, like, not that they're losers, bro, they're winning. Like, they're not losers. But I think that, like, bro, I know I'm never going to be number 1, that you just approach shit differently. You know what I mean? Because you're like, bro, I can give this my best and I'm never going to be him, So that's why I don't think any one of these guys is ever going to catapult to that level, because they already have that mindset of like, bro, no, even if Drake's gone, they're going to know that, dude, I was in an era where Drake was always the guy, and at best case scenario, I was number 2 that year, So that's why I think the rapper who's going to come over and take over the scene hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Every time I try to look at the list and think of all the guys, and no matter how talented they are or good their albums, recently might have been, I still feel like a lot of them fall into like a niche where they're like the man in that niche.
Like a Tyler. And dude, we love Tyler. But like, dude, back-to-back Grammy Tyler. And it's still like not enough. Bro, like,
right. And even NBA Youngboy, who like seems to be killing it independently and topping charts and stuff. Like I don't think he's nearly as big in the late night conversation that you always have with everybody. Like even for people that don't like Drake can still find something to discuss.
Correct. Yeah. Whereas dude, I'm telling you, I remember in 2018 when I went to Barcelona, they were playing Drake at like a tapas restaurant. I was like, bro, you're not playing NBA Youngboy in Barcelona, bro. I'm telling you right now. So like, it's just a different mood. Dude, should we do a deep dive though on Yeat and like, who is this guy? Why? Like, because dude, people are saying next guy. Like that's a conversation people are having.
I'm down. I've heard a couple songs. The next guy in what regard though? Because sometimes people say the next guy, and I think what they really mean is he's just gonna
the next popular guy.
Next popular guy. But I would bet all the money in my savings that he's not gonna be the Drake though.
And dude, but that's the heavy thing with like these. Like when you grow up in that era, bro, like, cause I feel like that pressure is what fucks people up even more. Because I remember just like basketball and like, bro, there was a 20-year run where it was like, who's going to be the next Jordan? And bro, that pressure ruined people. Cause like, bro, I want to be the best version of me. Like, why can't I just do that?
And it's not good for the listener either, because if someone tells you, if your boy or whoever tells you Yeat's the next guy, when you listen to the song, you're going to, in the back of your mind, compare it to Drake, to J. Cole, Kendrick, or whatever. And if it doesn't meet that expectation, then you're like, this guy's trash. And then you might even build a little resentment, the fact that he's even being compared to your favorite artist.
Bro, think about like 2 years ago, bro, a year ago, we were like comparing a gospel album to CLB. And it was like, why are we doing this?
Exactly. So yeah. I'm down to do a deeper dive into
deep dive?
to his music. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that should probably be one of our next episodes, bro, because I've been seeing that name. We can do probably both, NBA Youngboy and Yeet deep dive, because we've been seeing those names for so long. And I'm just like, man, that's the tough part about again, social media, because everything's curated on base of what you like, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, these people don't really ever fall in my life, ever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, they don't exist, bro.
Yeah. And we're also getting older, and I feel like these new guys are becoming even younger.
Yeah. Which is weird, though, because I was still 29 bumping Jaden Smith with pride. You know what I mean? So
I think the content has just gotten, because when I was even 19 or 20 or whatever, I was listening to Kendrick, and I think Kendrick was no more than 23 or something. And his content was just far more mature than what the Yachty's and Eats and stuff are putting out.
Yeah. Well, not Yachty, bro. Come on, Yachty is different now, though. Yeah, you think about old Yachty.
Old Yachty.
Old Yachty. Oh, 23-year-old Yachty, not 25-year-old Yachty.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm gonna assume it's the content, because I haven't heard one Yeet song, so I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I know NBA Youngboy is a lot of killing and that typical kind of sound, though, right? From what you've heard?
It was traditionally, yes, but I think in recent couple of years, I think it's evolved a bit.
Okay.
I can't say for certain, but based on what he's said online, it seems like he's become more, positive with his message.
Okay, I mean, I know he had that really good feature on Tyler Creator's album that I really enjoyed. What's Your Name with Ty Dolla $ign. So yeah, we'll give it a deep dive. But yeah, give us your thoughts on if you're excited for Drake exit gracefully from the hip hop scene, or do you still want to have the boy around for a very long time at the top? All right, man. Heat of the Week, episode 133. Let the people know what's a must listen to right now.
So this song is actually something I came across again when I was going through my catalog of old songs. Yeah, Facebook. And I think I might have even wanted to choose it for last week's Heat of the Week, but I didn't have a chance to. But coincidentally, I had a dream where it was a similar situation where you had come to visit San Francisco.
Oh, nice.
But this time I was showing you the song on the TV, and I was like, yo, you got to check out this song. And I was like, yo, this is going to be Heat of the Week next week or something. So I'll just make it this week's Heat of the Week, since I feel like the universe is telling me to do it. But this group is called Pac Div, and I discovered them back in, 2009, 2010. This is back in the college mixtape era when all these new groups were popping up. And the best way to describe them is they're like a West Coast, conscious rap group, similar to a Kendrick or Vince Staples kind of vibe.
Okay.
And I think that's what appealed to me, because in the West Coast, it's 80% gangster rap, which is dope, but
these guys are going to stand out if it's remote.
Yeah, they're going to stand out.
Yeah.
And they got bars and stuff, which is dope too. And they just provided balance to the scene. So I gravitated towards their music. But this song in particular is called Whiplash. I recommend just watching the video, because the video itself is super dope.
It's crazy. Okay.
The beat is super dope and original. And yeah, it just talks about super vulnerable, honest stuff in each of their lives, struggling with money and people and fake friends and all kinds of stuff, but in a very clever, natural, and relatable way, I guess.
Nice.
But the song itself is super dope, and kind of made me wonder what happened to them and why they never rose to that high level.
So how'd you find them though?
That's a tough question. I don't necessarily know. I know back in the day, I was kind of heavy on looking at blogs and things like that. So I believe that was how. I don't think anyone put me on necessarily. They might have even been featured on a song with someone else, but yeah, I can't recall exactly.
No, that was the cool thing about the blog era though. you just needed some one guy to find something, put it up, and now like, you know, a bunch of people discover, right? Because I remember, dude, I I came across Big Sean for the first time because on sohh.com, they dropped the Mike Posner mixtape that had Big Sean on it. And then that took me in a rabbit hole, like, yo, who the fuck is this guy rapping? You know, and then I became the biggest Big Sean fan. So yeah, dude, that was a great time in hip hop though, bro. Like it's hard. Again, I know we've been trying to do that a little bit with this whole pod in general, but it's hard to put that many people on nowadays the way like it felt way more impactful back in the day.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny that you say that because I totally respect Big Sean as an artist today. The first song I ever came across, I think, of him was called Big Nut Bust.
Really?
And the song art is like a bunch of like white drips, like on a black background. And I'm just like, okay, this is why people, I guess, in the beginning were like,
didn't respect him seriously. Didn't respect him.
But now his catalog is like some of the most like meaningful shit I've heard. It's just funny, the contrast from the start of his career to now.
But again, mad young though. Like
super young.
He had to drop whatever that song is. He's like 17 or some shit. Like just like an idiot kid. But no, send me packed in. I'm excited to peep them. I feel like I've heard them, bro. Like heard of their name. Maybe there's another song that I'm aware of that may be different from Whiplash. But send me that, dude. For me though, because again, I really did by the end of the weekend truly come to enjoy the Lovesick project by Don Toliver. My favorite song. There was a few that I really enjoyed, but my favorite song out of all of them is Time Heals All, track number 6. Again, super vibey, great lyrics, not trying to go over your head with it. Yeah, bro, I don't know if he's like a modern day Nate Dogg, if that's a good example as well. Like, I don't know, the way he just flows on a song, like it's not overwhelming. Like, again, I remember there was one moment I just closed my eyes and like, again, because his ad libs are so good as well, like it already feels like it's a surround sound thing even happening when you're listening to one track. Like, so again, great production quality. So if you haven't heard it yet, listen to Time Heals All. Really, really good song. And a close second was the James Blake feature, Let Her Go. That was a really good song.
Yeah, I love that song. Love both of them.
Yeah, great project overall. But all right, man, that's episode 133. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let the people know what we got going on. Let's get out of here.
Yes, sir. Catch us at audio-theory.com. New episode every week. We got the Spotify and Apple Music playlist on there as well, in addition to merch. So if you haven't bought any, get that. If you're on YouTube, check down below. You'll see a ton of our merch. And yeah, like, subscribe, share. Obviously, you're going to continue pumping out content every week, get some collabs and interviews and things like that in the coming months. But for now, really focused on giving you not only news, but like timeless content that you can't find elsewhere. And I think we've been doing a good job of that so far. So
I agree. Yeah, dude. When I was doing some of the edits and I was playing back some of the parts, I was like, dude, I was dying laughing and all. It's like, oh, fuck, that is a good take. So hopefully you guys feel the same way. Bye, my dude. Love you, man. Enjoy your night.
Love you too. Peace.
Peace.